Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and men and women and children and anybody else who's watching. Thanks so much for being here. Today is November 24th. It's Monday evening, 8 p.m. We are Central Standard Time again. We all fell back and went back to regular standard time. We appreciate you being here. We have, gosh, so much going on. I have to make notes, which is kind of fun. Anyway, this is our last webcast for the year, and that's kind of sad to me because you all just don't know how much we enjoy presenting these. And we do know how much you enjoy them. We do know how much you refer to them. We do know that. But we really do enjoy preparing these for you. And I don't just speak for myself because today we had everybody today, if we got everything done, we all went out to dinner at 6 o'clock and we got it done and we got back and we're here on time and we had a great dinner. So it was really fun that we can all get together and play because everybody certainly works hard. So thanks to everybody for watching and behind the scenes. Thanks. We are switching up our YouTube, well, we're switching up our broadcasting. This is the last broadcast of the year, our last webcast. And so we will actually now broadcast, or do webcast. I call it broadcast, but I guess it's the same thing. We'll actually now webcast directly to YouTube, through YouTube. So there's several reasons for doing this. The technology, again, I mentioned as we've gone all along, we've kind of watched it and kept pace with it. It gets better and better, and the advantage of going straight through YouTube is that we own those videos, not YouTube. The problem with Ustream is that once we post them, we can't get them back. So what that is going to mean is those videos on Ustream eventually will not be there anymore. So they'll probably still be up for 8 months or so because we've paid a lot of money to have them there, but we want to start putting them on YouTube because they'll be there permanently, and eventually we'll lose those on Ustream. So that's our interest in getting these off and onto YouTube, and so that's the main reason. YouTube is just a more user-friendly, contemporary, etc., etc. Ustream, maybe by then, may change their mind, but for right now, that's the situation. It's also easier to log in. All those, there's lots of advantages, and we've done all of our homework on this end, and we know we can get it up and going by 2015 by the time we come back and do our webcast for next year. So this is our last webcast 2014, and we won't see you till next year unless you're going on the New York trip. If you're going on the New York trip, I can't say that. We'll see you in 2 weeks. No, we'll see you next week. Oh my gosh, we'll see you next week. Okay, so that's the new news on YouTube. So we're going to do our questions answers with fitting, and then gosh, we won't go past 9 o'clock, but I have just way too much information tonight. Go ahead with questions. Okay, what holiday ways can we use leather? Can the leather be dry cleaned? I wash my leather. I can't say you can wash your leather, but you certainly could try it, because you can just cut 2 swatches the same exact size and just throw a little swatch in the washing machine. You will find the washing machine does nothing to that little swatch to ruin it. It just doesn't. It might fade a little bit. The color, you'll never notice the color, but if you wash other things with it, you may notice it picks up the color. But that's why you're going to do 2 swatches, because one is to compare back to the original. So, whenever you wash yardage, if you just wash a whole bunch and you don't keep an original swatch, sometimes you don't notice the changes. So cut 2 swatches, wash one, compare it back after you've washed, and then dry it and compare it back. Now you don't need to dry leather till it's bone dry. Leather is porous, leather's real, leather's alive. It's not really alive, but you know what I mean. So you don't want to dry it to a bone. You just can. I have a front loader, so after I pull it out of the front loader, I don't put it in the dryer at all. I just hang it on a nice shaped hanger, and I just let it dry, and it dries beautifully. Even if there's spots all over it, don't worry, they'll all dry, and they'll all dry evenly, not to worry at all. So I wash my leather, yes. If you are buying a leather jacket and if it says dry clean only, I'm not telling you you can wash it and it will be okay. I'm telling you I have, but there's a lot of grades of leather out there. There's a lot of different qualities. I can tell you that the leather I buy it from Leather Impact in New York. I have thrown that in the washer and thrown the dryer. I bought stretch leather. And I said, Marina is the lady who runs the store. I said, can I wash this? She goes, I'm not sure. So she sent me some so I could wash it and dry it and report back. And I washed it and dried it with no change, no nothing. And I called her back and I said, guess what? You can wash it and you can dry it without any problem. So as far as what you can put leather on for the holidays, everything. You cannot go wrong with leather for the holidays. It's just becoming more and more popular, all the different colors. I didn't even do leather tonight because I feel like I've just shoved leather down your throat. So I didn't do any leather tonight. But yes, I would say do leather for the holidays. Leather piping, leather trim, leather, all kinds of stuff. And I really recommend Leather Impact, IMPACT, because it's such a great source for leather. They're honest, they're good. Marina, if you tell her you know Peggy Sager, she'll probably give you a discount. Just a wonderful lady. For those of you who are going on the New York fabric buying trip, we're going to go to Leather Impact. You can see it. All right, and we still have a couple spots open. I'm going to leave until Thursday. By Thursday, we're going to shut down registration, but we have until Thursday to register. All right, I am between a size 3 and size 4 with knits. Should I use a size 4 and take it in, or use a size 3 and put some extra in the side seam? I would recommend you cut right in between the size 3 and size 4. You just said it. You're right between a size 3 and size 4. Why do you have to cut on the lines? Simply cut right in between the 3 and the 4, all the way around the pattern. Then you won't have to take in or let out. You'll be just perfect. All right? But I would say to you, knits are a variable. So knits are sometimes going to be different. The bummer of cutting a knit is you don't want to cut it too small. So I would, until you've made it several times, I would go with a 4 because it's so easy to bring it down. And if you cut it 3, even if you cut it 3.5, and it's too small, whatever size you cut it, if it's too small, you really can't do a lot with it except wear a jacket all the time, and that's a drag. So be careful with knits. They change, they're not the same all the time, etc., etc. Be careful with them. Okay? Okay. But cut between the lines, you guys. You can cut between the lines. I know you know that. I know you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Okay, we need more questions, Brett says. Come on, questions. I've got questions, not to worry. Are we nothing coming in? Let me take a couple questions and just until it comes in. Okay, so there are comments that people have written in. Okay, when you make a pair of pants, a lot of us are making jeggings, stretch leggings, skinny jeans. Those are probably a lot of synonyms for a very similar type pant. They're not exactly the same. They have similarities, but they are very similar. So I want to use this analogy because so many people say, I started with 3200. 3200 is Sally's pants. I started with 3200, and I made it out of a knit. It was too big. Well, it's kind of like saying I made a blouse and I want a t-shirt. Those are just such different worlds that you've really got to understand that they're two different worlds. These pants that are regular fabric, linen, silks, non-stretches, have a completely different need for circumference than your skinny jeans do. Skinny jeans have no ease. They rely on the fabric for movement. They really need to have stretch in both directions, etc., etc., etc. So again, I can't make a blouse and then say, gee, I want it to fit like a t-shirt and not expect there to be some changes. So those changes are going to include not just circumference, because as I get closer to the body, again, I want you to think blouse versus t-shirt. As I get closer to the body, the angles start to change. The fabric needs to change. So the darts in my hip line, the darts in my inseam, the top of the inseam, those are going to change also. So there's nothing wrong with, if you want a pair of skinny jeans, start with 3200, maybe the draped pair that already fits, and then fine-tune that. Or start with the yoga pant, or start with the denim, the 3300 Lana's jeans. It doesn't really matter where you start. Just recognize as circumference comes in, my angles have to tighten up also. My angles are going to include the hip line dart and the dart at the top of the inseam. Those two darts are probably going to tighten up as well as circumference. The crotch usually comes a little bit shorter also. All right. But I think best you need to recognize that a pant is not a pant is not a pant. We're dealing with a lot of stretch fabrics today on the bottom half of our body, and we want to become comfortable with them, and we want to do them because they're beautiful. The problem is also when we're doing a muslin, we really can't use a muslin, per se as what muslin, I always say muslin, I just mean a trial run, but a lot of you literally think I mean muslin fabric, and that's just not the case. If you're going to do a stretch bottom, you need a stretch fabric to do the stretch bottom, and it needs to have similar stretch. Again, it's like trying to make a t-shirt and using a woven fabric to make a t-shirt. It's not going to happen. So just kind of logically think through that now that you have this new information. Okay. Questions? Are we okay? All right, questions. What is the best fabric for leggings that will not sag in the rear and knees when wearing? Stay away from spandex. Spandex is why you're getting sag, because those fabrics, those fibers for the most part are very low percent, and so they just don't hold up. They don't hold up. And it's usually less expensive. But sometimes pricing isn't necessarily all the answer. But the first thing you want to look for is a fabric. It has to have stretch in both directions. I don't care what you call it. It's just two-way stretch. Some people call that four-way. They're not four ways. It's not in and out and up and down. It's just two ways, okay? So when you have two-way stretch, it will give you mobility in both of the ways you're moving. When you bend your knee or when you sit down, your rear end not only gets longer, but it gets wider as well because you sit on it. And so I need fabric that has both directions. Whenever I buy a fabric, I don't, I want to look for a cotton that stretches. I want to look for a cotton fiber that stretches in the weave of how that is woven. So let me explain that. There's two ways to get a fabric to stretch. Number one is to add in a stretchy yarn, and the second way is to merely weave the fabric so that it stretches. Actually, there's a third way. They can actually weave the yarn to where it stretches. I don't need lycra to stretch. I think that's a very common misunderstanding, that I have to have lycra to stretch. Fibers can be made to stretch just simply because of the way they are created. They also can be made to stretch by the way they're woven. So I don't have to have lycra to stretch. Lycra wasn't even invented until, I don't know, the 60s or something, and it was just something that they threw in there to make fabrics less expensive, so that because the weaves to get them to stretch are more costly than just putting in lycra. So lycra is not the end all. In fact, I don't care for lycra. It does exactly what you say. It bags, it sags, it does all those unnice things that aren't good. So look for 100% cotton leggings or 100% rayon. Those things are going to be more likely to hold up to your areas where it's very close to the body and you're moving. Okay, does that help? Hopefully. All right. 1900 sleeve adjustment. Too long. I'm going to probably say you mean too low. Needs to remove 3 inches. Not a prayer. Sorry about this, but we'll talk. Need to remove 3 inches. Fits perfectly under the arm sky. Should I take 1.5 inches there and the other 1.5 inches lower down? First experience with silhouette patterns, muslin, perfect fit, instructions great. Okay, so this is a great lead-in to this next little part. And if you'll just hang on to questions for just a little bit. Let me get through here. I went to Chicago, I don't know, was it last week? I kind of lose track sometimes. Anyway, recently, last weekend, I guess it was. And it was a workshop that we had there. And I got to tell you, all of you ladies there in Chicago, if you're watching, I just adore you, love you. It was such a fun few days. I just love talking to other sewers. It's so much fun to be with you. It's so much fun to just talk about problems we have and how to resolve them and how we think. And I love listening to how you think and learning from your experiences. So one of the things I learned, and I'm going to answer your question, hold on, okay? One of the things I learned is that you're just not getting what I'm saying. You're just not getting it. You're not getting it. Um, and I know you're watching and I know you're understanding, but I don't think you're getting it because these 10 ladies looked at me like, oh my gosh, you've said that in every webcast since the very beginning, and we just now get it. So they're honest enough to tell me that they were really not getting it from the webcast. It's not how I'm saying it. They tell me it's not anything. It's just simply their frame of reference. And, maybe when they're sitting at home, they're a little too comfortable, or maybe their mind's wandering to something else. I don't know, but they're not getting it. So we are going to force feed this down your throat. Okay. So my son, Mr. Brett, in our collaboration, because see, he's a computer science guy and he knows all these stuff. So he put all his brains together and came up with this chart. Now I'm not going to show you this chart just yet, but I'm going to show you where it is on the website. We're going to literally spoon feed you, and we're going to shove the spoon down your throat so that you get this. Okay. When you make a jacket, which that's why it prompted me, because you're asking about silhouette pattern 1900, and it just so happens that I have a silhouette pattern 1900 right here that I've made for myself. Okay. So it's not possible for that silhouette pattern jacket armhole to be 3 inches too big. If you were to make it 3 inches smaller, you wouldn't be able to move your arm. So what that tells me is you don't know the size of the armhole you like, and you're trusting our pattern too much. And I don't want you to trust the pattern. Don't take that wrong. I mean, I can give you a good fit, I can give you that kind of stuff, but I can't tell you what you like about your jackets. And so all of these ladies, I mean, they're all webcast watchers. You guys know this stuff. And when I say to them, what size armhole do you want me to give you on your jacket? They look at me like I'm talking Russian. They have no idea what I'm saying to them. I mean, they do, but they don't realize that they got to know these answers as you sew. So we titled this as a clothing measurement table. So I keep saying, do this, do this, do this. I've never done it. I'm going to do it. Okay. So this measurement table is, now when I say there's no way your armhole could be 3 inches smaller, maybe there's some way, but you'd have to be like 5 feet tall. You just have to be so tiny and so small that the standard armhole we use is 22 inches. That's extremely common in jackets with shoulder pads. That's so common, I could probably go to any store right now, pull a jacket off, and measure it to be 22 inches. Armani does 20 and a half to 21 inch armholes. Those jackets are difficult to move in. Even if you put it on, most people don't like those smaller armholes. And that's only an inch. If you go 3 inches smaller, you poor thing won't even be able to lift or raise your arm. Because understand, the armhole isn't the deciding factor. The sleeve is the one that decides what size armhole you get. You don't get to pick any size armhole you want. You have to have mobility first and then work it backwards. So let's do it. This is a jacket I like. And I made this one, but I got my numbers originally from jackets in the store, from trying them on. I always say, find a jacket you like, and I hear back. I hear you right now saying, I don't have a jacket I like. You don't have to have one jacket that you like everything. Like the sleeve and the armhole. You could not like any of the rest of it. Maybe the armhole's down at your ankles, I don't care. But like what you're measuring. And then you're going to take the tape measure, and you're literally going to, now this particular armhole is a little bit smaller because in this particular jacket I used a 1 inch, a half-inch shoulder pad. So when I used a half-inch shoulder pad, then the front and the back both went down a half an inch because the pattern was made for a 1 inch shoulder pad. So when they both went down a half inch, my armhole got 1 inch smaller. So this is measuring a 21 inch armhole. Now the reason I did this on this particular jacket, I love this jacket, is because there's 3/4 sleeves. And 3/4 sleeves are easier to move than a full-length sleeve. So the goal in my dressing is I want the smallest armhole I can have and still be mobile. I got to be able to move. I mean, the old days, they looked great. They were only 14-inch armholes, but nobody could move. They just stood there and, drank their tea and looked pretty. but I've got to have the smallest armhole I can have and still function. Now that's your choice, but don't you can't stand there with a jacket without sleeves in it because everyone does it in all the workshops. I fit them in this base muslin and they say the armhole's too low. Before they even put the sleeve on, before they even move, they sit there and they say the armhole's too low. And I get smart alecky and I say, okay, what would you like the armhole to be? How many inches is it? Because I know they don't know the numbers if they're telling me they need it to be too small because I try to get the smallest armhole in that pattern that I can. I'm trying to make you look your best, even without you trying to look your best. I'm trying to get you to look your best. So I'm already putting in the smallest armholes, but to still have mobility. Am I making sense, you guys? Am I just rambling? Okay, so we have made this chart. Brett made this chart. All right, so it has a listing of what things you should measure going down, and then across. You can print the chart out. So let me tell you where it is. Go to Silhouette Patterns and go all the way to the right hand side, and there's a little button that says Features. Click on that and it will come up right in the center column. It will say Tips, and right at the bottom it says Finding Your Measurements, and it'll say New right in parentheses. We added that in. Now when you open that, right at the top it says Print this chart. So you can print it out. It prints out to an 8.5 sheet of paper, and on the left hand column it says all the garment measurements that you should have. See, we're trying to really make this easy for you. And then across it has the different types of garments, because I've mentioned many times you're going to have a different armhole for a t-shirt than you are for a blouse, and yada yada. Now you can print more than one sheet. Let's say one sheet is a t-shirt is the green t-shirt and then a yellow t-shirt. Print additional sheets so that you can keep them. And you need to keep them readily available when you go shopping. You need to keep them readily. I know an app is coming. Please don't say do an app because it's coming. But right now, while we're all in a really easy printout mode, and this didn't take us 8 months to get done, I really wanted to get this I really wanted to make this happen. So if you will go down there and follow the list of armholes, then I can answer those questions. Or actually you won't ask those questions because you'll not want the armhole to be 3 inches smaller. So let's pretend you do want the armhole to be 3 inches smaller. Ask me that question again, do you mind, Brett? Because the first consideration was you had a 1 inch armhole. I mean a 1 inch, it's too long. It's too low, I'm sure that's what you're saying. Need to remove 3 inches. If it's perfectly under the arm sky, how could it be too low? Should I take 1.5? Well, to answer the question, you just would extend the side seam up 1.5 inches and then redraw it to the front and redraw it to the back. But don't do that. Honestly, if you come in with a 19-inch armhole on a jacket, you simply won't be able to function. Okay? Just a heads up. Yes, go ahead. No. Oh my gosh. You mean all this time I read that wrong? I think I read it wrong. Oh, I did. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're talking length. The length of the sleeve itself. I am so sorry. Here, you poor thing, I ranted and raved for the last 10 minutes. My son knows exactly how you feel. I'm so sorry. Okay. I am so sorry. Okay, so you're taking 3 inches away in length. I got it. Okay, so a sleeve has 2 lengths to it. One is to the elbow, shoulder to elbow, elbow to sleeve, elbow to hem. So if you did not take any length out of the body, then that tells me, gosh, the jacket is proportioned to a body, and it's proportioned pretty well. Your elbows come to your waist. Elbows come to your waist. If you stand there and go like this, your elbow comes to your waist. So when I made the jacket and drafted the sleeve, the elbows come to the waist. If you shorten the body of the jacket, then that's a clue that you should shorten above the elbow. If you did not shorten the jacket and the jacket fits at your waist and everything's fine there, then you should take that length all off the bottom. Because you should know that at my height, I never had jacket sleeves long enough, so I did make those sleeves a little long, so it's possible you could take the whole 3 inches off. But you want to watch the bend. There's a bend in that sleeve, and you want to make sure that bend matches the bend in your arm, which is the elbow. That was such a simple question. I think I was so excited about my chart that I just started off on my diatribe, but I am really excited about this chart, okay? Come to know she didn't even want to change the sleeve. That's too funny. All right, I apologize. My apologies. All right, but can we get back to this chart a little bit? Because I really want to go through. Do we have any more questions? If I can get my chart out of me, then I'll really read the questions more carefully. What? You sure? Okay, so let's do the chart, because the reason I brought this jacket up tonight is I wanted to show you kind of where to measure, because I did again have a lot of ladies say, well, we don't know where to measure. Okay, so size of the armhole, literally take a tape measure and just wrap it around. Now recognize that the whole thing is we're measuring garment measurements. We're not measuring you, we're not measuring, and so that's why there's different columns as to t-shirt, blouse, jacket, etc., etc. So I wrap the tape measure around, don't pull it short, just carefully walk it right onto the seam. Okay, circumference of sleeve. The widest circumference of a sleeve is right at the cap line. The cap line is where the sleeve joins in. So right here is the cap line. Okay, and you're going to take that and write that measurement down. Now again, if you have 4 jackets and you like them all and you wear them all, then you're really going to discover a lot of it, I think, as if you measure the differences between them all. And that's why you can print out as many sheets as you need to really help you understand your blue jacket, your yellow jacket, the green jacket, you know, all those differences. Okay, how do you know if tightness or immobility is a problem with the size of the armhole or the circumference? You don't. You don't. That's a perfect question. Let me finish reading that question. I get so excited about these answers I don't finish. How do you know if tightness or immobility is a problem with the size of the armhole or circumference or sleeve cap height? See, you don't. That's why the beauty is I want you to measure clothes that you like. Otherwise, see, that's what I finally figured out. I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out, but when I had all these ladies in this workshop and, you know, they kept saying the armhole's too low, and the armhole wasn't too low, and I said, why do you think the armhole's too low? And they said, well, look, because you look at it, it's too low. So I said, well, what size armhole do you like? Well, when they couldn't answer me, then I knew that they didn't really know what they were saying. Sorry, you guys, I don't mean to say that wrong, but they didn't really know that it was too low. They just were speculating. So if you don't know what size armhole you like, you will spend a lot of time trial and erroring. What I'm trying to do is get you out of that trial and error mode, because we all know we could have made 15 jackets in the time, you know, we took in and put out and took out, and it's just too discouraging. So that's the best thing, is when we go to the store and when we try on, we know we like it. We put it on and we like it and we say, wow, this is perfect. So that's why I'm trying to get you to measure what's perfect and then how to duplicate that perfection. Does that make sense, I think, to everybody? Okay, so there's my sleeve cap. Now once I have the sleeve cap, that's the widest part of that sleeve, I want to hold on to this point because that's going to give me my cap height. So I measure from that point. You know, I mean, when I first started doing this, you guys, I was hired by one company. There was a company in San Francisco that was incredibly expensive, and everybody, you know, was, not everybody, but a lot of companies were duplicating them because they were just high-end, beautiful, but you could knock them off. You could knock off that look for a lot less. So a lot of people were duplicating them. And so I measured like crazy. I measured all kinds of stuff of what they were doing and what they, you know, what were their strengths and how did their size range run. I mean, companies do this all the time. This is just research and homework. So at that time, what I did is I measured plaids in the first time because I could be more accurate with plaids. I could see the cap line, I could see the cap height, I could make certain my numbers were accurate. Now I've measured for so many years, I kind of know the numbers, and I'm just kind of checking my numbers to make sure I'm on the same page, or to make sure they're within what I know to be right. So measure plaid. If you're a little nervous about doing this and you go shopping, there's a lot of clothes in the stores right now. There's full of holiday and all that stuff. So it's a good time to do this. Okay, so that would be your three. That's the size of the armhole, the circumference of the sleeve, and the cap height. Those are the three. All right, then when you're trying on a muslin, a lot of times you don't know if it's too wide in the shoulders until you actually put in sleeves, and then you have to take out the sleeves and redo it. So I want to show you, if you'll measure from this seam here. Now on this chart we called it width of the shoulder seams, and measure it in the front, because from this seam here through center front to this seam over here is going to be it's all style. It doesn't have anything to do with any pattern rule. I can put that armhole wherever I want it to be, but you got to know what you like. So that's called the width of shoulder seams is what we called it. Now sometimes there's two things that cause a lack of mobility. Number one is a small sleeve, and number two is no extra ease in the back of the garment. I get mobility from those two places. So right around the center of the armhole in the back, and it doesn't have to be exact, but we put on here the width of the back. That's what that is. So I'm going to measure from this point all the way across to this point so that I can see how wide I need that back to be. Some people have said, oh, I've got a really broad back and narrow shoulders. You can't have a broad back and narrow shoulders, but measure the width of the back, because especially in a jacket, because a lot of times that gives you the extra mobility you need, and you don't have to change the sleeve at all. So if you know all these numbers, when you come into a pattern, you can quickly recognize what's good, what's bad, what I want, and how to change it. All right, then I did the top ones with the cap height. I did that. Bust circumference. When you go to do bust circumference, it's from the widest part under the bust. You should always button the garment. Always close up the garment. You can't measure a circumference with it open, and then literally just take it right across. And you don't need to measure the front and the back. Circumference is total. It doesn't make a difference how it's divided. Just measure from the seam to the seam and get a total number. That's your circumference. Be sure once you measure that to double it. I did have a lady who, said, how can I be that little? Anyway, you got to double that. It's 2 layers, all right? Then you can do the same with the waist. And sometimes you might have to put the jacket on to find out exactly where the waist is, but once you find it, put a couple pins and then measure where those pins are so that you can get finished waist. Now, again, I'm just going to emphasize that these are garment measurements. I'm not wanting you to measure your body. Measuring your body is a very simple thing to do, but interpreting that into what you like, that's also a very easy thing to do. We've just never been taught to do it. In fact, we've spent so long not doing it that it's just so frustrating. So there's your chart. All right, I'm going to leave it because I think we've got enough to where you guys understand what we're doing, and we are losing time. All right, are we okay with that? Same way, knit armhole. Just lay the French, same way I did it. Lay the tape measure on and measure it around. You can measure with the French curve if you want, but measure the front, measure the back, add it together. Doesn't have to be front or back. You don't need to worry about that. Really cool? Are we doing good? All right. Okay, so I have got so many holiday ideas for you. It's just incredible. I want to start with just simple because I think so many of us just want something simple. I love to sew. I think you all know that. I think you all figured that out by now. And so last year we did a holiday dressing, and the reason I like to do these is because I think it really, I don't base them just for the holidays. I think there's lots of fun things we can do for the holidays, but I think it's for year round. But one of the first things I want to show you is, I combined 2 patterns. I took pattern number Giorgio's top, which is pattern number 312. It has a little peplum, a little flare. It's great with leggings, lengthened. And I wanted something more through the collar, so I put on Anne's top. I love Anne's top. I love the collar. I love everything about it. So 115, this is the combination of the two. Now I don't think you can see it, but what I did do is I made the bottom asymmetric because the bottom on a lot of the garments right now are asymmetric. But in this particular one that I saw at the store, it was actually lower in the front panel, and the front point was the lowest, and then it went up from there. I'm trying to think who the designer is because you can, it was online. After I saw it in the stores, I went back and it was Armani. Actually, that's who it was. So if you go through Armani's fall tops, you can see that it's longer in the front and then it goes shorter all the way around. So I just did the same thing. The best way to do that is to add the length you need to the longest point and then just take away what you don't want. And you can just do it with a yardstick. You can just cut the angle, however you want to do it. Okay, so easy enough. When I went to do the neckline, this is my pattern for the neckline. So the collar, I took the collar, and again that's 115, and then this is the top I was putting it on. You just line up this point at the shoulder seam and line up the front, and you just redraw, check the back, check the front, and just change whatever neckline that collar fits onto. Put that collar onto whatever pattern you want to do it on. We've done this before. It's not hard. I think you know how to do it, but what I did with this was an idea that I had gotten last year, and I just really liked it. I had to repeat it because it was one of the gals in my workshop, and she made an extra collar. So see, that's how Anne's top is. And so she literally cut another collar. She just did this literally out of scraps. Did the center back seam. What I did is I put the two edges together and just top stitched it all around, and I put my little glitz on the collar. So for right now that can be holiday, but come January, there I have it. So I really like the idea of having the removable Anne's collar. I just think it's adorable. Okay, so I'm going to put her behind. A lot of times what you'll notice is a little belt just gives it a little holiday glitz also. Oh, this is a brand new fabric. We actually just put it up today. It's a maroon rayon knit. It's got beautiful drape. It's a little heavier than the rayons we've had in the past. It's really just gorgeous. Really nice to sew with. Very, very pretty. And keep in mind, gray is what's so popular for fall, and so these maroons are just really working nicely in. In this particular case, so the first thing I'm going to say to you when you're dressing holiday is just go for color. Go for greens, go for blues, go for all those holiday colors that are just wonderful. This is just two patterns done together. I've already done Anne's top, which is 115, and this is Casey's 5-way top. I'm going to show you it a little bit later, but this one I did it in the same color. Same color so that it just is pretty, and you can make it long and wear it with leggings, and it's just easy. It's such a simple little outfit to just whip up, and again, just kind of put it on with a decorative belt and it works really nicely. Alright, I want to go to, nope, I don't want to do that yet. I do want to show you the pattern of the month for December, because we actually won't have a webcast in December and we won't really get a chance to see it. This is called Maroon Metallic. It's a beautiful fabric. I know you guys, when you buy online, and we sell a lot of fabrics online, and there's a lot of trusting going on out there. You trust me, but this fabric is stunning. It was so enjoyable to work with. What's the fabric actually made out of? Can you? Yeah, he'll find out. That's okay. I wanted to, I knew the name. I looked up the name to just make sure I knew the name. Yeah, it's a rayon, but it's so lightweight. It is just beautiful. It feels like a silk to sew with it. It's just absolutely stunning. So what I did on 611 is I cut it longer. I cut it about 4 inches longer because, again, I wanted to wear it with leggings. But, and then I just put a little bit of the iron-on crystals on the lapel. It's a perfect complement, fabric and pattern, because of it's a shawl collar, but because it's got a point here, the fabric has a geometric print to it. It's just really pretty. I know you probably can't see this close up, but I just absolutely love it. It is leather looking, but it's actually a beautiful silver thread that runs through it. So cool looking. It looks kind of like plastic, but it feels incredibly smooth. So when you talk about leathers, it's perfect for holidays. I also want to suggest to you easy things to do, a few patterns, because they just work well. And let me find the one I wanted to use and then I'll show you. I'm going to give you 4 patterns. Pattern number 83 is Colette's wrap. Pattern number 112, Casey's 5-way top. Pattern number 95, Brooks top. All of these make great contemporary capes for today. I want to show you this one and just kind of give you an example. Well, the other one we did too, I was going to show you, was the sweater set that we turned into a little cape. We did the webcast where we made it asymmetrical. I cannot tell you how much I wear that. And if you make them, I'm trying to find the top and what I did with it. I stuck it somewhere. That's what tells you I've got too much made back here. This is pattern number 95. And you guys, if you, let me tell you what it works for me, because I just feel like, without getting too detailed, I just feel like I've gained a lot of weight. So don't comment on that, just hear what I'm saying. So if I wear something and I put a little cape over it, oh, it's amazing how much more comfortable I feel. So let me just show you this. This is just the same, oh, I've got this upside down, sorry. This is number 95, sorry, this is Brooks top. There's no buttons, nothing on the front. Because we've got a style right now, whoops, did I lose my mic? We've got a style right now that is very loose, kind of over the top, but if you just do that, then you kind of lose, you just look bigger. So to do that completely, you're going to kind of add some pounds. But I love this. So if you give yourself some shaping underneath, sorry you guys, I think I knocked this, underneath, and then just throw on this great little thing over it, it's really a nice combination. And not only, you can do a little blouse for the holidays, but then just really spark up the bottom part. This is 95, no button on the front, so it's just left open, and I love that look. I just think it's a great look, very flattering. Okay, so then I did pattern number, this is pattern number 195. You guys know it's a sweater set. Again, I really started with easy. We're going to step it up and get a little more complex here in a minute. The goal here was to use the sweater set but do something a little different. So I took the elastic. This is the gold elastic. You could use silver, you could use black, you could use white, you could use any elastic you wanted to. You could really even use trim. I was at Neiman's and there was a cashmere sweater and it was only about $400 and it just had this little braid coming up and down the sleeve. So that's where I got the idea from. So what I did, can you all see that? What I did? It's so beautiful. It is the braided elastic and then sewn up the front. But when I started, the elastic's not cut at all. It's just solid. And then it's cut into 3 parts and braided as it comes up and into the sleeve, and then it comes up the sleeve and coordinates into the armhole. So when you're doing this, you're just going to take your elastic, whatever elastic you're using, you're cutting it into 3, and you literally don't cut it apart, just braid it as you go up, and then when you go to put it on the garment, just stitch the edges. Now some of these little things will come out, but as long as you stitch the edges, it'll be fine. And don't stitch, whatever's in between, don't do that. But basically it's just braided, it's put on top, and secured down. And I love it. It's so pretty on. It's just really beautiful on. Very flattering. Again, I think it just gives that eye a real vertical look rather than just having a plain t-shirt. So it's really a fun thing that you could just add on top of anything. Alright, so we put up on YouTube, we put up the whole tank top. This was PBS series, it's a 200 series, and it's episode number 6. And the reason we put up the tank top was because we covered fit, we covered changes, we covered all kinds of things on the tank top, and the tank top for holidays can be a really simple little great punch. So a couple things of what I did is I took 1 yard of fabric. That's all I used for this next idea was 1 yard. And I did, first off, I did the tank top, and I cut the tank top long. Now this is that winter white woven baskets. It's a beautiful, winter white is a great holiday color. It's beautiful. 99% of the people, now I had made this jacket, this is one that we made last time, it's 1850, but I really didn't want black under it, I really wanted the winter white. So I made the winter white tank top, I made it long because all I wanted to wear underneath here was leggings, and then I just took what was left and I made this little scarf out of it. Now what you can do for holidays, and what I did is, you'll see, I used the selvage of the fabric and I put the selvage on the end of the scarf. This fabric is great on both sides, so you want to look for a fabric that's really nice on both sides because you really don't, all I did was serge the edge, tuck over, and top stitch. Very simple to finish, but it really doesn't even look like a finish because the fabric's kind of spongy, and so it kind of just absorbs the seam. And then I just sewed the fringe on there and I put a few little holiday things, but you can do all kinds of jewels. It doesn't matter, you don't need to use, I used this iron-on, but there's so many different fun things, and I went ahead and did it on both sides because you don't really want to worry about is the right side showing, you just want to make both sides right. So I love that. I love the scarf and the blouse massing because it gives you a much longer look when you go to do it. Is the braid into a seam or just attached like applique? It's just attached like applique. Just literally, well, it's into the seam on the side at the bottom where it starts, and in the sleeve it's into those seams, but it's not put into a seam, it's literally laid on top. I understand your question. It's like applique. Okay, then from there I want to move into this tank top because once I did the one tank top, I wanted to show you there's so many different things you can do with tank tops. If you wanted to for the holidays, a tank top generally only takes, like I said, 1 yard of fabric, and you can really make the tank top scream loud as you want it to scream, glitz, glitter, sequins, whatever you want it to do, and then just play down the rest of the outfit. So you really can get away with a lot of loud stuff that you can't get away with in April, okay? Someone will call the loony bin. But anyway, it really is a fun time, and there is one particular party that we go to every year, and I really enjoy this party because everybody just dresses up so much. And, you know, I mean, I just really have fun dressing up for this party. So I would really encourage you to dress up and go somewhere. And I would strongly recommend you go to a live performance. Now some of you are going to say, no, there's no live performances where I live, but you know what? That's not true because everyone has a high school. Probably every high school in this country is putting on some kind of live performance over the holidays. And you can patronize your local high school. It costs you $20, but you can dress up in whatever you want to wear. And if you're embarrassed to go to your high school, go to 3 towns away. Nobody will know you and you can wear whatever you like, but go to a live performance and dress up because it's just fun. It's just really fun to do over the holidays. Okay, so this is the tank top. Now what I did with this is the base fabric here is the metallic. It's called metallic dual, and it's just a beautiful piece of fabric. It's metallic on one side and it's regular on the other side. Use the metallic side, use the bright side. And then what I did, and this is again just a little tank top, I just layered elastic. It's literally just elastic. It didn't take me but like 4 yards. It didn't take me that, but I cut 4 yards. I started with it. I cut 4 pieces down the middle, depending on what size you use is how many strips you'll get on there, but I got 4 strips, and then I noticed just leave the top plain and then go horizontal and only go 3 through the middle. Don't go all the way down to the bottom. You're not trying to make yourself a checkerboard. You're just trying to give the effect, and you weave it in and out. Don't weave I mean, when you go to stitch down, don't stitch over the weave because you want it to look like a weave, and if you can't get your finger in there, it won't look like a weave. So only stitch the verticals of the vertical and only stitch the horizontal of the horizontal, and you'll still get that woven impact. I love this. It's so cute. Then what I did at the neckline is I finished it off with that fold over elastic braid. so that caught all the elastic going into the neckline. So this is what I did, is it's the tank top in the front, I did a woven fabric, and I did a knit fabric in the back. That way I could get the fit I want. And so it's kind of a win-win combination. I don't need darts, I don't need any of that. I've got the knit fabric in the back, and whatever size tank top you make, go down one size smaller and you should be just fine. So even though that sounds like it might be too small, that knit will make up for it in the back. So go down one size of what you would normally make, and then just make your layers. Now this elastic goes right over the darts. The darts are in there. You can't even see them anymore because the elastic's been layered over them. And then just stitch down so the back is solid. And then again, these are just great little coverings to go over them. So if it's really, really cold, I can still get away with a tank top. I don't ever have to take my little top off. This is pattern number 83, Colette's Wrap. I just love it. It's a great, just really simple. It didn't take me, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours or something to whip up this little tank top. All right, are we okay with that? White woven 1 yard. What I did is, what you want to do is get your yard and fold the two pieces in, because your fronts and the back both are on folds. This is a woven fabric and it's a tank top. So I put in darts, I did all the fitting, but you're going to fold the two, it's 60-inch wide fabric. You're going to fold the two sides together, and don't fold them to the middle. Fold them as minimal as what you possibly need them to be to get the circumference that you need off your size, because then you've got this big long middle piece, and that's what I made the scarf with. So actually what I did is, a scarf's got to be about 2 inches long in order to really have it be long enough. You can see this one's really nice. I can still do all this stuff with it because it's the length I want it to be. So I had 3 pieces. The longest piece I used for the middle. I had 2 shorter pieces and I used those. So I actually made a couple seams, but again, the fabric is so smooth the seams just kind of sink in. But that's what I did to get a little bit longer scarf. So you can make the tank and use it as a gift, and it just works really great. On the tank top, I can't believe you're asking me, Peggy Sagers, if I included the bust dart. The answer in every case will be yes. I will not exclude. The whole goal of me is to teach you how to get great fit and still be in with the times. Okay, the answer is yes, I included the bust dart. It's right there. All right, so in finish I want to show you this other thing I made. I made it twice. This is the first time I did it. I just absolutely love this fabric. This is called Knit Pebbles. It's a cotton. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to work with. It's just a beautiful fabric. So for holidays, because it wasn't holiday looking itself, I just put underneath a little red tank, and I love this. I think it looks very holiday. So this will change a lot based on what fabric you use. I mean, it changes a lot. So I made it out of 2 fabrics so you can see the difference. But what's stylish right now in the stores is all of them have this, not all of them, but many of them have like this little fold over at the bottom. So it comes down one side, folds up, and comes up the other side. And also a shawl collar. It actually, you may not recognize it to be a shawl collar because it's so wide, but it's a shawl collar. So I'm going to show you first the pattern work and then how to create it, or how to actually cut it out. Because it's a shawl collar, I started with 214. Whoops, am I in the camera? Sorry. I started with 214. So 214 is a shawl collar. It does all your work for you. Then what I did is I put the shawl collar on top of the sweater set. The shawl collar is a princess seam and I didn't want that. So I took the shawl collar and just literally marry it right there at the base of the neck. So now I've got my French dart, but I've got the shawl collar. Okay? Or you could use any shawl collar that you have. You can do any pattern that you have. Alright, I'm just showing you how I did it. Alright, so that's how I did that. Now, because I had seen this in a store and I kind of measured style, style is what we don't know. This center back seam, instead of it being 4 inches, was 8 inches wide. It went way up and it's 8 inches wide, and then all of this blended into the bottom. So I measured how wide it was from the base of the armhole across and from the bottom across. So what I was trying to do was get to this piece. Now I'm going to show you how I got here. So here's where I started. Okay, there's the shawl collar. There's the sweater set. You can see it there. Okay, and there's my addition. So see, you can see I opened this up way more, and then I came all the way down and I added this much all the way to the front, because it's actually these things that go down and curl up, they're actually a double-breasted look is what they are. You don't realize it because they're open, but they actually are double-breasted. So that's it. That's your pattern. Now the next part is when you go to cut out. You want to, all of it has to be one piece, because that fold at the bottom just comes up and goes to the other side. So I lay this down, and this is what I did. You can actually make the whole pattern piece if you want to, but I went ahead and I just cut down to here and down to here. This actually, you can see I put a fold line on there because this will go on the fold. If you take this and just turn it up, it won't work, because you'll have a mirror image of itself and you might as well just cut on the fold. You have to take it and flip it the other way and then lay it down on the fold on the same points. So you're reversing it and going the other way. So that's why you really have to make a pattern. You just can't really say, oh, I'm just going to cut this and then flip it. So you start off like this. Once you cut to the fold, you flip the pattern this way and then go down and line it up right at the fold, so that you see one dart is on this side, one dart's on that side. Are we okay with that? Okay, then you have this. That's exactly what it makes. None of these edges are finished. You get the fold along the bottom. I lengthened that. I did not lengthen that over the sweater set, and I used the sweater set of the back. When you are constructing, I would hem the back first and then sew the side seams, because what's going to happen is you're just going to run out of fabric on the side seam. It's just it's going to start running into the whole front. Just stop stitching, because that's enough. Now what I want to do is I want to show you what happens when I did it in this purple, because you get a completely different look. Like I said, this is, I did it sleeveless, number one, because I have a lot of long sleeve whatevers. This is pattern number 125, and all I want to do is put something on over it just to kind of keep me warm, just to make it a little more decorative. So this is what it looks like. You've got to use a fabric that you like both sides. That's why when I use the pebble knit, it's beautiful, it's perfect, it's really a nice fabric. Or rayon. This is that deep purple grape rayon. So you can see there's the fold at the bottom. So if you imagine it, to unfold it, this would have to be backwards down there. And then it's really easy to sew. It's not difficult at all to sew. It sews up very quickly, and it's a real quick little holiday thing. You look very, very current, because so many of the tops out there are doing this exact same thing. Okay, how are we doing? Okay. Just Office Depot, Office Max. It's just a big chart paper. Get that big chart paper, yeah. It's not what I draft patterns on, but it's really easy to actually make the changes. Okay, so there's a couple more things I want to go over really quick. One of the gals in the workshop, we kind of talked back and forth, and she'd been at a workshop before, and her whole purpose of this workshop was to really just make sure she understood armholes, sleeves, all that kind of stuff. She has a forward shoulder and she has sloping shoulders. So keep that in mind. I'm going to use this pattern just as an example. She has a forward shoulder. That means she adds to the back, takes away from the front, and she also has a slope to that shoulder. Whatever the problem is, and I mean whatever the problem is, I have my little armhole template, and my armhole template is this. I will place that template on the new beginning point of where the new armhole is and draw my new armhole. Just take the old armhole and draw it on the new beginning point. So if I've re-angled that shoulder seam or changed it or done anything to it, just forget that I've made any changes. I want to keep the sleeve the way it is, and I put my template right there at the new point. See, there's my new angled shoulder seam. So I come along and I start right there with the armhole, and if you can see, the new armhole is now lower. Okay, I went back and forth and I said, boy, if you can really if you can tell me where you couldn't get it or where you could get it, it would really help. And she said that she was just confused where she made tucks in the sleeve cap as well. Forget all that. That kind of doesn't happen that often. If you think you need to, email me and I'll be glad to answer it. So far we're still getting through emails every day. I'm not sure how much longer that will last, but we're still doing it. All right, so in closing, I want to say a few things. We've got some amazing specials. The first thing we have is a Sew Steady table. Order a sewing table through December 1st, which I think is Monday or Tuesday? Monday. Order a table and you get a free accessory pack. It's an incredible deal. Is Monday the 1st? Okay, that goes through Monday. The second one is that we started was interfacing. It just doesn't happen. Once in a while, the interfacing, my great lady calls me and says, guess what? If you buy X amount of yards, we're going to give you X amount off. You know what? I buy it and I hope we sell it. So interfacing is $1 off a yard, but it only goes through again December 1st. Tomorrow we are going to launch the thread. So if you buy an 8-pack of thread, you get a free DVD, but we're going to give you the 12-pack of thread. This is like ridiculous. So, and you can't screw up because if you order the 8-pack, it'll give you we're going to ship you the 12-pack. If you order the 12-pack, it'll only charge you for the 8-pack. We made it kind of like, you know, you can't goof up proof. How's that? But that only goes through December 1st too. We'll officially launch that in the morning. It's all set up. It's all ready to go. Those all end December 1st. There are no other specials coming through December 1st or after that. We called this our November week of savings, and so many places are having, you know, Black Friday on Black Week, whatever you want to call it. It made more sense to us because nobody wants to work Thanksgiving weekend. And if we get all these orders in, everybody has to work so that you guys get your packages, you know, quickly. So this really helped us. The only thing we'll have going on Black Friday is ETA Dallas. ETA Dallas is actually up already, so you can see the booklet. ETA Dallas traditionally is one of my favorite shows just because Dallas is so centrally located that everybody comes to Dallas. So don't think, oh, I don't live close enough. Yeah, you do. Because guess what? Southwest Airlines now flies all over the place direct. The Wright Amendment is over, and they fly direct to a whole bunch of cities, and they are inexpensive, and you can check luggage, so you can check one empty suitcase and bring it home full, and that will be a fun weekend. But ETA Dallas is the first weekend of March, but those sign-ups start Black Friday. Also by this weekend we'll release the April New York buying trip, because so many of you have said, well, you know, you want to go, you want to sign up, you've got your tickets already, and it makes me crazy. So we're going to go ahead and open that up this weekend. Other than that, gift certificates. Don't forget to buy gift certificates. They're great gifts for your sewing friends. They really are. The reason we did the thread is we figured you could keep the thread and give the DVD to a friend, or you could keep the DVD and give the thread to the friend. Either way, you'd have a really good friend. All right, ladies, we're going to say goodnight. We've kind of gone over. We do need to ask our trivia question. Are we ready for that by chance? Oh, our PBS Series 300, I also forgot about that. That is free shipping. Series 300 is free shipping through December 1st. That also ends December 1st. And then we'll ship those DVDs out sometime in December with your free pattern, that free pattern. Okay, so this is our last webcast. We have our trivia question is, I'm going to miss you guys. I'm telling you, I get a lot done doing these webcasts. So thank you for being here because I got to get it done. I got to get it done. Okay, so the bonus question's in the chat box. You can look in there and get that. The bonus question: how many subscribers does the Silhouette Pattern YouTube channel have? Currently, right now, as we speak, how many does it have? And hopefully maybe by this weekend we'll break the next, I can't say what we'll break, but anyway, we'll break the next amount. It's not 21,000. No, we want it to be 21,000. We could make it 21,000. We have that many customers, but we just can't get y'all to YouTube. But we want you to subscribe up to YouTube, because what we'll do is you'll get notice of when we put up new videos. So over the holidays, what we're going to do is we will actually put up sewing methods. That's probably one of the best things for you guys to see on YouTube when we put those up on Monday. So when you sign up, you'll get notification that we've put up a new video. But also where it really helps us is because when we go to broadcast now, everything will go through YouTube, and the more subscribers we have, it costs us less money. Remember, we're still waiving those ads, so that just costs us to do that. Anyway, so sign up for YouTube. You don't need a lot of personal information. I think that's the other thing I like about it. You don't have to know when you were married and how many children you have and all that kind of stuff. But it is really helpful for us. Did we get it? Anybody yet? The answer is 3910. 3,910 of you are signed up. 3,910. Faithy Mom? Faithy Mom? Oh, you know, another exciting thing. We've got so much going on here, I forget all this stuff. But if you have Lisa Sews? Okay. And so Lisa, you'll have a coupon code in your chat box, Brett? Is that where it goes? In your chat box, just check there, and the coupon code's worth $50 on any Silhouette Pattern products. I wanted to mention PBS because there's so much happening with that, I forget a lot of times to mention it. But on December 15th, we'll start on the Create TV network. That is a network all by itself. It's 275 channels, and they will start playing the first series, but on December 15th, and they're actually going to show it bi-weekly, twice a week. So if you have Create TV, if you know of it, you might just, that'll be an additional place to view. But you can always go to our Fit to Stitch website, and it says TV listings, and you can go in and put in your zip code, and it'll pop up, you know, where the show is in your area. All right. Before you go, what about my top? My top is pattern number 195. Y'all can do this. I was thinking that by now you know how to do this. It's the sweater set. You cut it apart, cut things away, add seam allowance, sew it back together. The fun thing about this top is you can make holes wherever you want it. You can make it as modest or as immodest as you want. I chose to make it modest, so it just has a little peephole in the neckline. That's it. But it's just lots of fun. It's lots of fun to do it. Pattern 195 is the pattern, and you guys can do it over the holiday. Have a wonderful holiday season. That means Thanksgiving, holidays, so many things are going on the next few months. Just don't get stressed out. Sit down, sew. That takes all your stress away. Sew something for yourself and sew something for somebody you love. But have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks so much for supporting us here at Silhouette Patterns. We love you. We're going to miss you, and we'll see you next year. Bye.